Good evening and welcome to another edition of Money Talk with Melanie. I'm your business diva, Melanie Collette, broadcasting live via SHR Media and streaming live on Facebook. My guest today is Dr. Cali Estes. She is the addiction coach, and she's going to talk to us today about 7 key principles to tap into the wealth inside you. So I'm really excited to talk to her today. I'm sorry I'm running a little bit late today. I was having some technical difficulties, but let's get rocking and rolling with a little bit of Money Talk news. There's lots going on, especially with this ongoing pandemic. This is the first day that all 50 states have opened up in some way, shape, or form, which is good news, I think. I think it's good news depending on who you ask. A little bit of bad news for essential workers. Apparently there's some U.S. retailers that are phasing out the extra wages that they were offering to frontline workers to compensate them for the risk that they've been taking on by working during a pandemic. And it is a risk until they find out get more knowledge about this coronavirus. So, but apparently, I guess since part of what's going on is that since the states are starting to open up, they're starting to do away with that hazard pay. Johnson & Johnson is going to stop selling baby powder made with talcum in the U.S. and Canada amid a wave of legal cases from consumers who have alleged links to cancer after prolonged periods of use. That's interesting. You see those commercials a lot of time on late night if you think that you've developed ovarian cancer or other kinds of cancers from the powder. So they are actually halting those sales. That's interesting. Is that an admission of guilt? I don't know. But that's really interesting. Another interesting little tidbit. Facebook is moving into the online shopping era. I don't know if I'm good with that. I think Facebook is already like kind of too much in our lives as it is. Do we really need Facebook to have an online shopping platform? And quite frankly, I thought that they already did with Facebook Market, but they are really trying to expand into that area, into the area of e-commerce. It's going to be what they're doing is they're offering people the opportunity to set up free storefronts for their businesses. But I feel like people kind of already do that with a Facebook page. It's going to be interesting to see what kinds of things that they're going to add to their I guess to entice companies to have their storefronts directly on Facebook as opposed to having a website or just a regular Facebook fan page like they have, or a Facebook group page like a lot of people tend to have for their businesses. It's going to be interesting to see how they develop that and if that's going to be way better than everything else. You're listening to a bit of sad news before I even go to commercial break real quick. Pier 1, at least sad for me, if you have a Pier 1 right across the street like I do, or one that's closed, they have really nice stuff. They're closing all their stores for good. They were already closing some stores, so that they were already in bad shape before coronavirus hit, and now they're closing all their stores for good. That's a bit of sad news. You're listening to Money Talk with Melanie. I'm your business diva, Melanie Collette. We'll have a quick commercial break, and then I will bring on my guest, Dr. Estes. I'm very excited to have her on the show today. We'll be back in a few minutes.
I have said ever since I was a little boy growing up in Cleveland that the United States should avoid China like the plague. Boy, was I ever correct. Hello, I'm Ron Edwards. On today's page from the Edwards Notebook, Japan's Nobel Prize-winning professor of medicine, Dr. Tasuku Honjo, recently stated that the Corona virus is not natural. If it were natural, it would have adversely affected those nations with the same weather temperature range as China. Instead, the Corona virus spread through Switzerland in the same way that it roared through desert areas. Dr. Hanjo further stated that the virus would have spread quickly in cold areas and died in hot ones. Dr. Tasuku also noted that he knew all of the Wuhan laboratory staff and tried for 3 months to reach out to them by phone, and has since learned that all of them are now dead. Dr. Hanjo has said that 100% sure that the corona China virus is not natural and that it did not come from bats. China manufactured it, he said. Dr. Hanjo confidently stated that if what he is saying is false, then they can take back his Nobel Prize, and that China is lying, and the truth will one day be revealed to everyone. This should mean a world war against China. I say just freeze China out, disengage economically, and move on. I'm Ron Edwards. Check out theronedwards.com. Sponsored by the Tri-County Liberty Coalition.
Don't just pass the IRS exams. Why not pass them all and get a solid tax education too? Visit irsexams.school and let the Tax Mama staff get you started today. All our live and self-study tax courses offer you the convenience to study online on your own time and have everything you need to succeed. Tax Mama teaches you tax law, practice, and representation from the ground up. That's irsexams.school. Why wait? Get enrolled today in our premium course or the self-study class. That's irsexams.school. It's way more than just a review course. It will improve your entire future.
And welcome back. You're listening to Money Talk with Melanie. My guest today is Dr. Cali Estes. She is known as the addiction coach, and she's going to talk to us today about 7 key principles to tap into the wealth inside you. And without further ado, I welcome to the show, Dr. Cali Estes. I'm pronouncing that correct, hopefully.
You are. Thanks for having me.
Oh, excellent. Thank you so much for being on the show today. So you're an addiction specialist. Tell the audience, before we move into the meat of the conversation, a bit more about your background.
So my background, I started in addictions when I was 19. I wanted to be an FBI agent, but learned quickly that they don't really make a whole lot of money, number one, and I'd be fetching coffee for the guys. So I ended up doing my internship at a prison for men, and there I basically blossomed my career into addiction because my mentor was ex-CIA. And he taught me body language and how to deal with addiction and how to work with different populations. And I became really, really good at it. And fast forward now, I have the largest online school for addiction studies called the Addictions Academy. And I'm known as the female Dr. Drew. And I work with high-profile CEOs, celebrities, and people that want discreet intervention and addiction services.
Excellent. Now, what I'd love to know, and I read some of your book. I didn't get through all of it, but I read a lot of your book. What I wanted to know is, how do addictions relate to your book, and what made you write the book? I'm sure that there's a connection there.
There is. So my first book was called I Married a Junkie, and it was about my husband using heroin while I was building my private practice. And once we completed the book, a lot of people started asking me, well, now what? You get people sober, what do we do next? And I said, that's a good question. So I started creating a system for them of what to do, once you're sober, how do you get to the next level? What do you do with career? What does that look like? And outcame the 7 keys to tap into the wealth inside you. Because these are activities and things I'm doing with my clients anyway. And I wanted it to be more mainstream so that everybody can benefit from what's in there.
I love it. And if you read I started reading through the book, and when I read the introduction, that'll get your attention. Now, there's no cursing on my show. I just wanted to warn you about that. And I forget the gentleman's name who wrote your foreword. What was his name? He was
Peter Shankman.
Yes.
Peter is one of the most sought after public speakers. He does an ADHD podcast, and he created Tarot, which is Help a Reporter Out, where reporters can go and ask for queries of other people. So he wrote that for me, and he quotes Full Metal Jacket. That's how he opened the book.
Yes.
There's cursing in the book, I believe, except for that, which is the opening part.
No, it was good. It was excellent, though. Excellent. It got my attention right away, and I said, okay, it made you want to read the book, which I think is the point. It was really good.
Awesome.
It was excellent. So you're talking about, you're an addiction specialist who talks about hang on one second. I just want to grab something real quick. Who talks about the 7 steps to make sure that I get this right. The 7 principles to tap into the wealth inside you. And these are key principles. I loved the opening, chapter, which the subtitle was "Eat Your Broccoli," and I thought to myself, "Oh boy, this is going to start stepping on some toes," and surely it did.
It did. So the first chapter is all about if you feel good in the inside, you feel good on the outside. So you can't eat donuts and bagels and McDonald's and Burger King and expect to feel good. And if you don't feel good, you're not creating to the full of your potential. So it has to start there. You have to exercise. You have to eat well. You have to go outside. You have to do these things so that you feel good. And if you feel good, you can harness your potential.
You really have to force yourself to do these things, don't you? Because it's not something, not for everybody, it doesn't come naturally, right?
Right. In the beginning, maybe. So I tell everybody it takes 21 days to change a habit. I was a food addict. So my big thing was ice cream and candy and cake and pizza and pasta. And I ate all that garbage. And I would wake up in the morning and I would have no energy and I would feel tired and sluggish all day. And then I would counteract it with a bunch of caffeine. So I was doing caffeine and then I started doing Rip Fuel and Fen and all kinds of stuff to stay awake. And my body was out of balance. And I wasn't really, harnessing my potential because I was getting up at 10 o'clock in the morning. I was up till 30 o'clock in the morning. And I wasn't really on a system and a schedule. So as I started to learn to eat well, I noticed I had more energy. I was clear-headed. I could come up with stuff. I was in the moment. I was more excited for life. And I teach my clients that.
Now, that is an interesting point because I feel like you have to, it's one of those things that you have to try in order for it to work. It's not something like you're going to have to force yourself to try that because at the time, I know for me with sugar, for example, I might have a little sugar addiction going on. For me, ice cream makes me feel good for the moment until I realize that I ate the ice cream and the effects that the ice cream is going to have on my body. And then I start feeling crummy. So then I'm like, wow, that was a waste of calories and a waste of time. But it felt good, like the anticipation of the ice cream, awesome. The actual eating of the ice cream, not bad. But that after effect, man, is a killer.
And you have to remember, sugar is the most addictive drug in the world. So what happens is your body says, I like that. I want more of that. I need more ice cream. Ice cream's good for you. Ice cream makes me feel good. Because what it does is it boosts your serotonin and dopamine. And sugar is almost the same chemical makeup as heroin. So your body goes, I want more. I want more. I want more. That's why there's half gallons of ice cream. I don't know about you, but if I sit down with a half gallon of ice cream, I can eat the whole thing.
Yep.
And not think about it. So those are things I tell people, stop and think about what you want to do. You don't have to give up sugar totally, but look at your drink. Look what you have for breakfast. If you're having coffee with sugar, take the sugar out of the coffee. If you're having yogurt, read the back of the label. Some of those yogurts have 30, 40, 50 grams of sugar in one little cup. And your average daily intake should be 16 grams. So if you're taking, 40 grams in a tiny little cup of yogurt as a snack, imagine what the rest of your diet looks like.
You're not wrong. I mean, I think I'm sure it's the same principle with fast foods. There's cheeseburgers and French fries and all of those things.
Exactly. And they have even more addictive chemicals to keep you coming back. So if you go, for example, to McDonald's and get a McFlurry, right? And then you go and get organic ice cream from the store similar to a McFlurry and you eat them, you're going to notice a very, very different taste in each one. You're going to notice that the ice cream from the store is heavier, it's fattier, and you eat less of it, right? McDonald's, you can do a large McFlurry and do another one because it's very light. It's not super heavy. It's not super sweet. It's almost like perfect. It's designed that way. So you come back and buy another one and another one and another one. So it gets you addicted to that particular product, which, great sales to chip on McDonald's part. But it's so full of to with clients is if you don't feel good because you're eating this stuff or you're obsessing over this stuff, how are you going to create the rest of your life if that's what you're doing? You're putting that stuff in your body.
So now, how do you know the difference between an addiction to those types of foods and I'm eating those foods in in moderation? Is there like a standard or a way that you can tell that you're actually addicted, as opposed to I just really like that kind of food and it's convenient?
Super easy. I'm going to ask you to keep a food mood journal for the next 2 weeks, and I'm going to ask you to eat no sugar at all. You will know in 24 hours if you're addicted to sugar. And you're going to know because you have a headache, and you're cranky, and you can't think clearly, and you can't sleep. You might even be nauseous. You might have, insomnia. And everyone around you is going to tell you to please eat the ice cream because they can't tolerate it anymore. That's how you know you're addicted to it.
Now, are those withdrawal symptoms that you described?
Oh, yeah. Yep. There's a full-blown sugar withdrawal that is absolutely horrendous when you come off of sugar.
Oh my gosh. Maybe I don't want to come off of sugar. No, I'm kidding. Obviously, it's just not a good thing to be addicted to anything, especially if it's something like sugar that is so bad for you. And I hear tell that sugar has all kinds of other bad effects as well, not just the fact that you can be addicted to it, but there's a lot of talk, since we're in the age of COVID, about comorbidities. And of course, a lot of that is diabetes and obesity and things like that. And that, quite frankly, is what really got my attention to say, in my own life, things need to change. I'm not obese yet, but I'm well on my way. And and I thought to myself, if that's one of the comorbidities of COVID, like if I am to get it, I want to make sure that I survive it by not having any of those comorbidities.
And that goes back to eat your broccoli. So if you're not operating at peak performance because of the things you're eating, your body will break down. You have to think of it like you're driving a car, right? If there's no gas in the tank of the car doesn't go at all. But what happens if you put in low-grade gas that might be mixed with water? What happens? You have trouble getting the engine to start, trouble keeping the car moving. There's all these issues, right? The car breaks down, it has major problems. But if you put really, really high-quality gasoline in the car will go for a very long period of time. You have to think of it that way. And if you're eating what I call garbage, donuts and Doritos and fast food, your car engine, your body is going to break down on you. You're going to see diabetes, you're going to gain weight, you're going to have headaches, you're going to have all these other issues, and the older you get, the worse it gets. So you have to start training yourself. I have to eat healthy. I have to be prepared. I don't want to get diabetes, because once you get there, reversing it is difficult. And you don't want to have to go through that process, because then you have to quit sugar. And if you don't, you end up on insulin and all these other problems, and they take your toes off, and you lose your feet, your eyesight, your hearing, and it's a disaster. So my thought process is, let's get healthy now so we don't have to go through that.
And in addition, you say in your book that it creates and sustains the energy that you need to do something productive, to do something that you want to do.
Exactly. And that's why you see people that eat junk food watching Netflix, right? Because they don't have the energy. I'm eating ice cream and Doritos. I'm going to watch TV. What else am I going to do, right? And people who eat really clean, they're out for a bike ride, they're going to the gym, and they're doing this, they're doing that. It's because they're eating different. If they were eating the fast food and the ice cream and that kind of stuff, they wouldn't be able to sustain the energy to do those tasks.
That makes a lot of sense. I have a friend who's I'll be 50 this year. I have a friend who's over 10 years older than me, and she runs marathons. Like literally runs marathons, and I can guarantee you that our diets look differently. That would be
absolutely, yeah.
That would be my guess. That she does a lot of very clean eating in order to maintain her body the way she maintains it. So that is awesome advice. But you never connect that with wealth or getting things done. At least I don't think a lot of people do. But your book certainly does in a very clear and concise way. I want to talk about the second chapter creating myself and discovering my purpose in life. Your subtitles are awesome. And if you haven't picked up, they are, because the subtitle is "Who am I and what should I be doing?" So it's not just, you don't just say, "Let me discover my purpose in life," but the subtitle, I think, really tells what the chapter is about. Who am I and what should I be doing? It's a very specific question, rather than what my purpose in life to me is very woo-woo, very broad, very ambiguous. And it's not really helpful. So I thought that your subtitle, "Who am I and what should I be doing?" is really helpful.
Well, I run into a lot of people who, they always say to me, I'm trying to figure out my purpose in life. I'm trying to figure out, where I'm going, what I'm doing. And I always say, well, who are you? And they go, what? Well, who are you? Oh, I'm a mom, I'm a teacher, I'm an accountant. I say, no, those are job titles. That's what you do. Tell me who you are. And they stare at me, and they're usually like, well, I don't really know who I am. What does that mean? Who am I? So are you loving? Are you attentive? Are you an entrepreneur? Who are you? And a lot of people, they don't get to ask that question, especially in the United States. When we meet somebody, it's never, who are you? It's, what do you do for a living? It's the instant question we ask people. What do you do for a living?
Is that a United States thing? Is that an American thing?
That's a U.S. thing. That's not a Europe thing. Now, in Europe, it's who are you?
Really?
And how are you? Yeah, they don't care what you do. They want to know who you are as a person. Here, we want to know what you do and how much money you make, and then we judge you based upon those two questions.
Wow, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. That is very true. So those are completely, and then does who you are fit in with your purpose? Is that why you're meant to be here?
Exactly, because sometimes people say, well, my purpose is I want to help people. I say, great. What does that look like? Well, I don't know. Because they don't know who they are. They know they want to help people, but that could be anything. You could be a nurse. You could be a doctor. You want to help people. You could be painting lines on the road for cars to drive by. That helps people, but they're vastly different careers. So if you don't know who you are, all you know is you want to help people, you're probably in the wrong career, because somebody said, this is what you should do. And you went, that sounds like fun. But you haven't figured out who you are. I knew at 14 who I was, and I knew I didn't fit in with my family. And that's rare. For someone to know at that age, these are not my people, it was different. It was difficult. And it was tough for me to assimilate that. But I knew I was too strong to be in the family I was in, and my opinions were too strong, and my thoughts were too strong, and I didn't align with them. And most people would have just, fallen in line with, well, that's what we do. We were very poor, and my mother's goal was, you marry the high school sweetheart, you move 2 doors down, and you make babies, and you work at the mall. And I remember looking at her going, I'm not doing that. I'm not even close to being in alignment with that. And she said, what do you mean? I'm like, well, first of all, I don't want kids. Second of all, I don't want to marry the guy I'm dating in high school. I want to see the world. I want to travel. I want to make money, and I want to have a company. And she goes, well, we don't do those things. That's not what our family does. And I said, well, I'm going to college. And she's like, well, nobody's gone to college from our family. I said, okay, I'll be the first one. And they didn't know what to do with that. But I knew this is who I am, and this is what I want to do. And a lot of people, because they may have thought or they knew growing up, they came up against their parents or they came up against society, and they said, you can't do that. That's not what we do or how we do it, so you have to do this instead. And they did that, and now they're 30 years old, they're 40 years old, they're 50 years old, sitting there going, oh my God, I'm married, I have 3 kids, my kids are off to college, I hate my husband, I hate what I do for a living, how'd I get here? And they're just discovering themselves at 50. So I take clients from the whole process, from the beginning to the end, of who are you really? And are you happy with the life you have? And if not, how do we get there?
Exactly. How in the world do you get there? Do you give them, so you said you take them through the whole process. Is there a test that you give, or is there a test that you give to see where you are and then see where you want to be so that you can set goals to be there? Or how does that work exactly? That without giving away the book, give me like an overview.
So first of all, for your listeners, I have a freebie. they can go to unpauseyourlife.com and they can download, there's 4 exercises on there to help them start finding out who they are and where they want to go. Freebie.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm going to post it. I'm going to post it in the link. Unpauseyourlife.com.
Unpauseyourlife.com. They can download those. The very first one is who am I? I asked them to come up with 25 words to describe who you are. And I also asked them positive and negative. What's your positive? What's your negative? And if you see more negatives than a positive, it's how do you make that a positive? How do you flip that?
25?
Yeah. Well, I always ask for 25. Here's why. Ask for 25, you get 10. Ask for 10, you get 5. So if I ask for 25, I'm almost guaranteed to get 10. I can work with 10.
I was about to say, you're making people dig deep on purpose because 25 sounds like a lot.
That's the goal. I want you to see where you feel your deficits are and your strengths are, because if you're not operating in your strength, you're not going to be happy. So let me give you an example. I have a client who is an engineer, and he's miserable, and he's 30. And I said, well, tell me about your family. Well, guess what? Mom's an engineer. Dad's an engineer. The 2 older siblings are engineers. And I said, you didn't want to be an engineer, did you? And he goes, no. I said, what did you want to do? He goes, I wanted to play in a rock band. And I said, okay, what have you done as a hobby to play in a rock band? And he looks at me and he goes, really? I could do that? And I said, yeah. Well, who said you couldn't? And he goes, well, I'm an engineer. We don't play in rock bands. Like, why not? Let's go play in a rock band. Next thing I know, he's in a rock band. So it's things like that. It's thinking outside the box. If you're living in the negative, doing things you hate, and saying, I hate my life, I hate who I am, I hate what I do, that's on your negative list. We have to figure out how to make that positive. If you're not happy with what you're doing, a couple of things happen. Number 1, you get angry. Number 2, you get anxious. And number 3, generally you end up drinking or doing drugs or eating garbage because you just don't want to deal with what's happening.
Oh, ouch. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So
that's what people do. So if you think about it, let's assume you have a 45-year-old woman, right? She has kids. The kids are going off to college. And she's sitting here going, what do I do? I hate my life. And she starts to get anxious. She goes to the doctor because she's feeling anxious and depressed. They prescribe Xanax. Next thing you know, she's addicted to Xanax. Still hates her life, but she's on Xanax. That's what happens with some of my clients. And then when I sit down, I say, what do you want to do? And they say, well, I want to get off these Xanax. Great. But what about the rest of it? What are we going to do with the rest of the stuff that's happening? And how do we get you to have the life you want? First of all, what do you want? And then how do we get you there? So there's a roadmap. We have to actually create a roadmap to do it.
I think that we all start out our lives with people telling us what it is that we're going to do. And we never even consider that we can do what we want to do. Like, you can do whatever it is that you want to do, because whenever you tell somebody what you want to do, chances are, at least this has been my experience, they're going to tell you that you can't do that.
That's correct. Yeah. And sometimes what you want to do is a difficult thing. You have somebody who says, well, I want to, be a pilot. And they have trouble seeing. That might not be something they could ever accomplish, but it's a great goal. And the question is, can you stop that limiting belief system? Can you get past that? And I talk about in my book about limiting beliefs, how people in early childhood told you can't do certain things because the family doesn't do that, or that's not appropriate, that's not culturally appropriate, or even gender appropriate. I always said I don't want kids. And my mother looked at me and said, what do you mean? We all have kids. You're going to have kids. Someday you'll want kids. And I looked at her, I was 14, I said, I don't want kids. I'm 46. I still don't have kids, still don't want kids.
I never wanted kids either, and I don't have kids, and I'm almost 50, and people think I'm crazy. People think you're crazy. Well, you don't want kids. I just never had that deep desire to have kids. Now, ironically, I'm a teacher, so I have tons of kids, in my opinion. Tons of kids. Before COVID, I saw 100 kids every single day, and some of them call me mom. So who knows? But I never wanted to have kids of my own, and people think it's weird that I'm a teacher. They equate not wanting kids with not liking kids, and that's not the same thing. Like, I like chocolate, but I don't eat it every single day. You know?
Right.
I don't. So it's just really, I think it's a really weird thing. Now, how do you know who your tribe is? How do you know where? I think you and I are long lost twin sisters, by the way. It's just so funny your experiences that you're telling me. I'm like, I can totally relate to that. And where do you fit in? Because like what you said about your family, I've always felt like a black sheep in my family, like even since I was little, and I'm still a black sheep. Like I'm very different from the rest of my family, which is fine. I have no problem with me being different. They have a problem with me being different, though. It's weird.
I have the same issue.
In 2016,
I was on CNN on TV, and I called my mother and I said, I'm going to be on the 11 o'clock news on CNN. And she goes, tonight? She goes, can you video it and send it to me? I'm going out with my friends.
Wow.
And I was like, Mom, I'm on CNN. She's like, I know, just video it. I'm like, CNN, not like the local news. And
like national TV.
Yeah, like this, there was no frame of reference of like, that's a pretty big deal, you know? And it was the same way when I got in People magazine. She's like, oh, just send me a copy, I'll read it for you. You know, and I wrote these 2 books. She just finished the 7 Keys book, which came out in January. And she'll send me pictures of her puzzles. Look, I built a puzzle. I'm like, did you read my book? I'll get to it. And then she's reading all these other books. Did you read my book? I'll get to it. There's just no, like, concept of, in my family, a female could possibly have any really big goals beyond making babies and working at the mall. Like, that is what you do. And not fitting into that, they can't grasp anything. So half of them have no idea what I do. And my mother, because they're from Philadelphia and I'm down here in Florida, they'll say to her, you know, how's your daughter? Oh, she's doing great. Where is she? She's in Florida somewhere. Like, Mom, I live in Miami. Oh, you know, somewhere down there. I'm like, you don't even know where I live. Like, so
oh, my Lord. It is.
Yeah.
It is. I'm very involved in politics, and they have, and in some pretty substantial ways, and my family has no clue what I do. So when I get, sworn in to do something or some kind of award, they have no idea. Like, they're like, we're happy for you, but we have no idea like what that is or what any of that is about. So it's just kind of funny.
Celebrities, and I'm like, you have no idea the people that I'm working with. And my mother's like, that's nice, dear. Let me show you the tomato I grew in my garden. And I'm flabbergasted. I'm like, okay, so this is what it is. So these are not my people. So I teach my clients that just because they're your blood relatives, your family of origin, they may not be your people. They may be the people that birthed you and gave you, housing and food if you were lucky. But those aren't your tribe. Your tribe are like-minded individuals going the direction you're going. So for me, I'm surrounded by empowered women, complete opposite of what, my mother's vision was. So these are women who don't have kids or have done very well in their career who, they're fairly big. They're out there. They're writing books. They're traveling. They're speaking. They're doing, they're breaking barriers. That's the tribe I identify with. So I tell all of my clients, you have to find those people. And it can be any people. If you like to do art, and you like to hang out on a coffee clutch on a Friday at 9 o'clock around a bunch of artists, those are your people. You have to find them. Because you're not going to feel like you fit in unless you find them.
That is very true. Now, Kenneth McClinton, who, by the way, invented Money Talk with Melanie, so kudos to Kenneth McClinton, but who's also quite the jokester, is in the Facey chat. And he wants to know what's wrong with having the life goals of being barefoot, pregnant, and making sandwiches. He's kidding.
But there's nothing wrong with that. If that's your life goal, go for it.
Exactly.
There's nothing wrong with that. But don't expect other people to do your life goal specifically. I can't expect every woman to, be empowered and write a book and travel and do all this stuff. If you want to be barefoot, pregnant, walking around and making sandwiches, and that makes you happy, then do it on 100. But make sure it makes you happy, and you're not doing it because someone told you that's what you need to do.
That's a very good point. Now, I feel like women in particular are told that they kind of have to do both, that it's not an either or kind of thing, that you have to, if you want to have some type of career or whatever, then you have to also have babies and make sandwiches and be barefoot and pregnant. I'm not opposed to making sandwiches and having a career. I could do that. I'm just opposed to the baby having part.
I said this when I met my husband. I don't cook. I don't clean. I don't do laundry. And I wasn't married until I was 34. So I call it interviewing. I was interviewing for a tutor. And my mother, she would always call me and she'd say, "Are you sure you're not a lesbian? You're like 32 and not married." I'm like, "Mom, just because I'm not married with a husband does not mean I'm a lesbian. It means I'm not ready to take a husband." And she would always say, "What does that mean, take a husband?" I'm like, "Well, I'm the primary breadwinner. I don't need a guy to finance me. That means I want to find a partner. I don't need to find someone to pay the bills while I stay home, cook, and clean." So I would go on these dates, and it was so funny because I would say, "Don't even meet me for dinner. Meet me for coffee because it's probably the last 10 minutes." We'd sit down. The first thing I would say is, "If you're looking for somebody to pop out babies, cook and clean, I'm not your girl." 5 minutes later, they were out of the chair. They were gone.
Might as well get it out of the way.
But
might as well get that out of the way.
Yeah, because it's not going to work. So I met my husband, and he sat down, and I said, "Listen, before we go any further, I don't cook, I don't clean, I don't do laundry." And he goes, "What do you do?" And I said, "Well, I'm good in the bedroom, and I'm good at making money." And he goes, "Marry me." And I looked at him, and I said, "Why?" And he goes, "I cook." He loves to cook. He goes, "I love to clean. I do all the laundry, and I'm a musician. I'm never going to have any money, Callie. I'm going to travel and play music. And if I can sit by the pool while you make the money, I'm in." And I'm like, "You're going to feed me and clean?" And he goes, "Yes." And that was it. Bam.
And you've been together ever since.
Yeah, 12 years.
That is fantastic. That is.
Tell your partner, I get the sandwiches. He's making me sandwiches.
Wow. That is a fan. I've never heard that story before in my life. Anything like that in my life. It's always good. Ken McClinton in the Facey Chat said it's always good to tell women that you do not want children after you find out they're pregnant. No, that's actually the worst time, Kenneth. Just a, just a thought. That's actually the worst time. So you need to find your tribe is very important. Now, you have a subtitle under money that says knowing and understanding my worth. Now, I feel like that knowing your worth and understanding your worth is almost an overused phrase in this day and age. Do you find that as well? But you use it in your book.
Here's why I did that. A lot of people underestimate what their time is worth and what they bring to the table, especially women. And they'll say, "Well, I normally charge $250 an hour for coaching," and then someone will say, "Oh, that's overpriced." And instantly that person goes, "You know what, you're right. I only charge $125. They instantly allow somebody to devalue their service. So my tagline has always been, "My talent is not based on your budget." And yeah, so when I tell people that, they're like, "What? That means if you can't afford me, you can't afford me." I had one lady call me, and she had said, she was from New York, and I'm from Philadelphia. So she called and she said, "I'm looking for a sober companion for 4 days." I said, "Okay, we could do that." And I quoted her price. She says, "Oh, that is ridiculously expensive. I'm not going to pay that." I said, "Okay, there's cheaper services out there. We're specific to this. We're bonded, insured, blah, blah, blah. That's why we charge that. Only work at the top of the top. Go right ahead. Call me if you need us." So she goes, "Well, I was on Google, and you're not even on the first, you're number 6 on the first page. I called the first 5. I said, "Let me guess, the first 5 didn't answer the phone." She goes, "How'd you know?" I said, "I know my competitors very well." And she goes, "So you're the only one that answered the phone." I said, "Keep calling. You'll call us back." And she did. She called me back, and she said, "I'm going to go with you guys." And I said, "Why?" And she goes, 2 reasons. First of all, no one else answered the phone. She goes, "But you didn't back down on the price." I said, I'm not going to. I know my worth." And she stopped and went, "That's pretty impressive." She was the CEO of a major corporation. Money was never the issue. She wanted to find a good deal.
Right.
And I said, "And what we do, my talent's not based on your budget. So I don't want to be devalued. You don't want me to work with you devalued, because then I'm not going to do a good job."
That is such a good point. That is an excellent point. So I posted what you said in the Facey chat. My talent is not based on your budget. And somebody gave it a wow reaction. That was my reaction essentially. but you're right, because I think
it's not based on your budget. You know, if you can't afford me, then you can't afford me. I get that. But there's services I want I can't afford. You know, I would love to have a McLaren. That's a $500,000 car.
Yeah, but that's not in your budget. Then
right. I can't walk in and go, hey, you know, I'm going to give you $100,000 for that car. They're going to laugh at me. So right now, that's not in my budget. Is it on my vision board? Absolutely. Will I get it? Absolutely. It might take me a little while, but I'll get there.
That's amazing. That is amazingly true, too, because I feel like, especially as a woman, our first inclination when you give somebody a price and they balk at the price initially, our first inclination as women is to lower the price. I don't think men do that as readily as women do.
No, men don't. That's the interesting thing. Men like to play the competitive side, where it's almost like a standoff, like a Mexican standoff, where they'll say, you know, I'm charging $250 an hour, and you go, well, can we negotiate that? And they say, no, $250, and then you either take it or leave it, and you go, okay, I'll take it because you feel like you want it, and they even add an additional element. They go, you know what? I only have 2 slots here at $250, and once they fill up, they fill up. So if you want this, you know, you want the service I have, you need to jump on it. They even make it worse. They turn around and give you the limited piece. And then you go, oh my goodness, I'm never going to get a slot. So you give them the money. And I teach women sales. I teach them how to sell yourself and how to make what you have, you know, what people want what you have. And they're shocked at how I do it.
That's amazing. Well, we're coming toward the close of the show. Please tell people how they can follow you on Twitter. They can hook up with you on LinkedIn. They can follow you on Facebook. I know because I did it earlier this afternoon. So tell the audience how they can do that.
They can find me. I'm pretty easy. So unpolishedlife.com, pick up the freebies. And then they can find me on Facebook under Dr. Cali Estes. I'm on Instagram under Dr. Cali Estes. I'm on the website under The Addictions Coach. I'm on Twitter at The Addictions Co. And the school we have is The Addictions Academy. And they can also find me at CaliEstes.com.
Excellent. Thank you so much for being on the show today. You rock.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. I want to thank everybody who's in the Facey chat, and you're in Kenneth McClinton, April, Doug, who else was in there? There were people that I missed. Jeffrey, Booker, thank you so much. BZF, thank you so much for listening and watching the show today. If you're listening to this as a download, thank you very much for listening to the show as a download on any of the podcast platforms. I appreciate you so very much. And remember, all of this is very important because after all, it's your money. Have a great night.